An insulin patch. It's not quite a pump, and it's not quite an injection. It lives somewhere in between. Enter the CeQur Simplicity insulin patch. It's just 8 millimeters thick, 2.5 inches long, and 1.4 inches wide, and it sticks to the body similar to an Omnipod tubeless pump, although an applicator is used to put it there. The patch is meant to work alongside long-acting insulin injections. It holds up to 200 units of rapid-acting insulin, and with just a pinch, it delivers 2 units of insulin. It's cleared to be worn up to 4 days. Welcome to the show. I'm Justin, and on here I talk all things diabetes tech, news, and management. I spoke with Bradley Paddock, the CEO of CeQur Simplicity, about what makes an insulin patch unique, how the device works and is applied, why patients choose to use it, and its future. If you've used the CeQur, please let us know your experience in the comments, and if you want to hear more about the patch on my channel, give this video a like on YouTube. Keep in mind that anything you hear on this podcast or any of my pages is not medical advice and is for educational purposes only. Always consult with a physician before making changes to your healthcare. Brad, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
You're welcome. Good to be here.
Let's start with a very basic question, but everyone watching wants to know. Kind of just tell us, what is the CeQur exactly?
Yeah, sure. CeQur Simplicity is a very small device. It's a very low profile device. It's about the thickness of 4 quarters. And in the device is a reservoir that holds 200 units of insulin. There's a small flexible catheter underneath the device, and it's worn typically on the abdomen, although it can be worn on the arm. And essentially, when you click these 2 buttons, it delivers a 2-unit dose of insulin. And it's labeled for Humalog and Novolog today. It's worn for 4 days. So it's a 4-day labeling. So the patient will wear it for 4 days. They'll fill it with the amount of bolus insulin that they would typically take during a 4-day period. At the end of 4 days, they would remove the device, dispose of it, refill a new one, apply it to their body, and anytime they need a bolus of insulin, whether it's at mealtime or otherwise, they simply reach down, click the 2 buttons, and every click is 2 units. So if I need 6 units, I'll do 2, 4, 6. I'll click it 3 times. So it's a very simple, low-profile device that delivers bolus insulin.
This is considered an insulin patch, right? What is the difference between an insulin patch and what many people know and use today, an insulin pump?
Sure. So the pump technology today, first of all, is incredible. Automated insulin delivery and the communication with the CGM is just tremendous. In fact, I would recommend it to anyone with diabetes, type 1 or type 2, as a first-line device. Those devices, take the information from the CGM and will actually automatically deliver insulin at various doses throughout a 24-hour period, right? So it's as close as we have to an artificial pancreas today. Incredible technology. So we are not that. That is a terrific technology, but that sits in its own category. On the other side of the spectrum, people use syringes and today mostly insulin pens to deliver bolus insulin. And if you look at the market, 40% of the type 1 population uses pump technology and 60% uses syringes and pens. In the type 2 space, 5% use pumps and 95% use syringes and pens. Well, despite all this great innovation, the majority of people with diabetes that are taking mealtime insulin are using a product that was developed in 1985 called the insulin pen. So for the majority of people on MDI, they're using insulin pens. And so we are essentially a wearable insulin pen. So instead of having a pouch with your pen and your needles and your alcohol swabs and going to the restroom or trying to find a place to inject bolus insulin, when you're wearing CeQur Simplicity, you're essentially wearing your insulin pen, And so when you need to take insulin, you just reach down and click. And so you have this great convenience and discreet way, injection free, of delivering mealtime insulin.
Before we hop deeper into this device, I kind of want to learn more about you.
Yeah.
You don't have type 1. When we did the little test recording, you told me you had orange juice and a banana. And I was like, okay, you either had a really bad low or you do not have type 1 or diabetes. And you don't. So how did you get connected to all this? What's your background and how did you arrive at CeQur?
Sure.
And why?
Yeah. So I've been in medical devices coming up on 30 years. I've worked for large companies like J&J, Medtronic, and Stryker. I've been in general surgery, ophthalmology, spine surgery, just a number of different fields in the medical device world. And I'd had the opportunity to be a part of a startup company years ago and build it really from nothing to almost 600 million in revenue. And so it was a really fun time. But about 5 years ago, I was working for Stryker, running their global spine business, and I thought, I think I'd like to get back into the startup world, and began talking to recruiters, and I stumbled upon CeQur. And really, what attracted me to it was the total differentiation of the product. There's nothing like it on the market. There's a very clear problem. It's a very clear unmet need and a very elegant solution to that unmet need. And so that got me excited, the size of the market and the opportunity. I mean, you hear about diabetes all the time. I think the latest stat was by 2050, 1.3 billion people on the planet will have diabetes. So it's staggering. And so to be a part of a movement to help millions of people with a really differentiated device got me excited. And I left the big co and joined CeQur 5 years ago.
So cool. What is the history of CeQur? Where did it come from and how long has it been around?
Sure. So it's really the tale of two companies. CeQur itself was founded in roughly 2007 as a Swiss company that had spent nearly a decade working on a basal bolus, more like a pump that delivered basal and bolus. And then another company called Calibra was started out of the Northwest in the US that developed the very first device like this. That company was acquired by J&J in 2012. J&J spent a lot of money developing it, building automated manufacturing. But when they decided to divest the diabetes franchise, the device franchise in 2017, which was largely the LifeScan business, the SMBG business, this product was a bit of an orphan. And so CeQur acquired it from J&J in 2018. And then when I joined the company, we made the decision that just based on where the market was with pump technology and where we saw a huge opportunity with this product from J&J, we really shifted all of our resources and attention towards this Calibra device that we renamed CeQur Simplicity. We really began to scale the sales force. We sit at 42 sales reps today and are in a regional launch of the product as we speak.
I'm curious, this being a kind of separate type of device form factor, were there certain obstacles or differences in the approval process for an insulin patch that you had to kind of overcome to get this on the market?
Yeah, so the real difficulty of getting products like this on the market, and there have been many companies that have tried and failed. Even CeQur's original product, you could say, didn't quite make it all the way. The big challenge is the FDA guideline around dose accuracy is very tight, right? I mean, we're delivering hormone to the body and it needs to be delivered at exactly the proper dose. Otherwise, it can create problems. So the FDA has a very narrow, strict guideline on that. So you have to be able to develop a device, number one, that can deliver that very specific dose. But then you have to design it to be manufactured in the millions and millions of units at a very low cost to make it affordable to get into the market. So it's really those two engineering challenges. It's the dose accuracy as well as the manufacturability that both have to come together and they did with this product, and that's why we're in the market today.
Today's episode is sponsored by T1D Exchange. You can directly make an impact on diabetes healthcare, treatments, and technology by participating in the T1D Exchange registry. It starts with a simple survey about your life with T1D, and it only takes about 15 minutes. After that, you'll have a personal portal with ongoing T1D study and survey opportunities. Plus, some of these studies even offer compensation. Signing up with the link in the show notes helps support my channel, and it allows me to continue putting out free content. You can sign up at t1dexchange.org/diabetic or click that link in today's show notes. So, why does CeQur think that a device like this is necessary? Who are you serving? Who do you believe you are serving?
Yeah. So I think there's a great example that's fairly recent. There was a paper at the ADA in 2023 that was published by Medtronic on the InPen, the companion medical connected pen that they had acquired. And
I love the InPen.
What's great about it is it tracks everything that's happening, right? So you've got this incredible data source to understand what's happening. Well, they presented a paper that had 5,100 patients on the InPen, and they tracked everything that was happening. Nearly 50% of the patients on the InPen were missing doses or were late with dosing, right?
Wow.
So a huge number. And that study sort of reinforces other studies that have been done previously, which just says people aren't taking insulin when they're supposed to, right? It's like we have this great...
Because life
gets in the way. I mean, we have this great medicine to treat diabetes, but if people don't take the medicine, then guess what? They're going to have all the complications associated with diabetes. So you've got the majority of people, again, 60% of type 1 and 95% of type 2, that are using syringes and pens, and half of them are missing doses. And if you just miss one dose, it affects your A1C dramatically, right? In a week. So you've got this huge disease state. We have the medicine, but people don't take the medicine. So that's the problem. And why? You just nailed it. Life gets in the way. People forget. They don't want to inject in front of others. They don't want to inject outside of their home. They're busy at work. Life gets in the way.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to want to dig up that InPen ADA report, because I know people listening, including myself, are curious to read it. The InPen is a great device, but it makes sense that there's a whole process to getting the pen out, putting on a needle, feeling comfortable in your surroundings. Like, I don't care, but some people do. Use an alcohol swab, which some people may not do, but you're supposed to do all these things. It's a process, and life gets in the way. So I would understand why a product like yours is easier to just maneuver quickly. Of course, though, I think one of the biggest questions here is pricing, and like, is this a lower cost device, or kind of explain to us what... I know you probably don't have exact pricing, and if you do, great, but what does the pricing look like for a device like this? And is there an incentive there for people to use a device like this over the InPen, or over traditional pens, or even over the AID systems that maybe someone doesn't want for other reasons, or for money reasons?
Sure. So in pricing the product, we made the decision that we should fall somewhere between insulin pens and AID pumps. From a health economics payer landscape, we find ourselves right in the middle. And we have found that payers have responded well to that. They've said, okay, yes, you're obviously you should be less expensive than a pump. But we also see the value that you're bringing over a pen, so we're willing to pay for this. And by the way, our product is sold exclusively through the pharmacy channel. So it's prescribed like a drug, patient picks it up at the pharmacy, so on and so forth. So that's where we fit in the payer landscape. So from a patient perspective, the copay amount is similar to an insulin pen. So we've sort of created the right environment for the patient. So the average copay today is less than $40 in a month, so that we've made it affordable for patients to have access to this technology very easily.
Yeah, so I guess I'm also wondering about the people, especially in the United States, who don't have health care,
Yeah.
want something easier to use,
Yeah.
but can't afford an insulin pump or like getting an Omnipod pump through
Yep.
pharmacy benefits because that's going to be too much. Are people getting this device and using it without health insurance? Like, is it in a comfortable place for people like that?
So, so we have very good commercial coverage. So basically, anybody that has commercial coverage has access to the product. We're covered by Medicare under Part D. So anybody with Medicare has access to reimbursement. We now have Medicaid approval. We're on the Medicaid lists in 11 states. So in those 11 states, it is a $0 copay for people without insurance. Um, What's also interesting
Wow.
is that we are considered by our FDA category not as continuous insulin infusion, which is what the pumps are in that category. We fall under a diabetes supply. And many employers will say, you know what? For all of our employees, diabetes supplies are going to be a $0 copay. So nearly a third of our patients have a $0 copay because their employer says, we're going to cover diabetes supplies and we want to make insulin cost you nothing. We want to make syringes and pens and things that are easy for you to use cost nothing. So the reimbursement environment for our company, thankfully, and we've got a terrific team that has done a great work here, but thankfully the product is very accessible for the vast majority of people in the United States. We do want to get on all of the Medicaid plans in the US so that there's no barriers to anybody with diabetes having access to the technology.
Yeah. So, do you know of people? I see a cool opportunity with this device for people to switch back and forth from, oh, I'm going on a weekend trip and wearing the CeQur is going to be a nice item to have, but oh, I'll go back to pens for the week. It's going to be a relaxing work from home week, whatever. Do you find that patients are kind of hopping between, or are they able to in this environment wear a few patches and then use an insulin pen for a month, go back to the patches, like kind of hop between the two?
Sure. So I'm going to answer your question in sort of a roundabout way. Um,
Okay.
one of the questions we say to doctors sometimes is, imagine if CeQur Simplicity launched in 1985 and everybody was on CeQur Simplicity. And then a couple of years ago, Doc, I come to you and I say, guess what? I've developed an insulin pen. And you carry it in this little pouch with needles and alcohol swabs, and your patients can pull it out and stab themselves and give themselves injections 3 or 4 times a day. And you ask the doctor this question, they kind of look at you like, oh, huh, never thought about it that way. So to answer your question, the people that transition from pens to CeQur Simplicity very rarely go back to pens because it's so convenient, it's so discreet. You wear it on your body, you shower with it, you can swim with it, you don't feel it, you can roll over in bed, you don't feel it on your body. It just sort of disappears under your clothing. I mean, it's so discreet and so easy to use. Going back to pens is almost like you're going back in time. For patients that are on AID pumps, I do think sometimes they take a pump holiday to go on CeQur Simplicity, right? So pumps are worn on the body, they're bigger, they're bulkier, they're more seen by people, right? So we do believe that there are some people that are on pumps that may take a holiday from a pump for a few days or a week and go on CeQur Simplicity and then likely go back to a pump because what amazing advanced technology it is.
Let's kind of get into the type of people who are using this device. Let's start with type 1, right? Many people, I would recommend to anyone with type 1, and you said it in the beginning, AID systems are amazing. Like, use it if you can use it, right?
Yep.
That's what I recommend to anyone with type 1 first. Like, this will give you the most comfort in life in the sense of automation
Sure.
and potentially make your life living more free. So why are you finding that people with type 1 are they using your product, and why are they using your product?
Sure. So today, roughly 80% of all of our devices sold are to type 2 and 20% are to type 1. We're sort of agnostic to type 1 or type 2. It's really more about who is taking mealtime bolus insulin. And today the device delivers only a 2-unit dose. So every time you push the buttons, you get 2 units. Because type 2 patients typically have greater volume of insulin, it tends to fit a little bit more nicely into that group of patients. However, if someone with type 1 diabetes, if a 2-unit bolus is a manageable amount of bolus insulin, and they can comfortably give themselves the right amount of insulin with 2, 4, 6, 8, then it's this, everything applies. The convenience, the discreteness, the lack of injections, all the same advantages apply regardless of it being a type 1 or type 2 disease.
Let's get into that. You mentioned this device, or at least the one available today, is a 2-unit patch. Each time you click it, you're delivered 2 units.
Yes.
And there are moments where I eat an apple, it's 18 grams, and I probably want to give myself 1-ish units.
Yep.
And I don't want to have to eat more than I want to eat.
Sure.
Because I don't want to. So
Right.
Are there any future plans to create other options or delivery sizes with these patches? One thing I like about the InPen is it can do half units.
Sure.
That was one of my favorite things. So yeah, 2 units feels a little restrictive, at least for my lifestyle.
Sure. So we have a really exciting innovation pipeline. I'm not going to share any of the details of that, but certainly the needs that you've discussed are ones that we've considered, and we can adapt the device in a number of different ways, whether it's the length of wear or the amount of insulin that gets delivered, even the size of the reservoir. There's a number of different ways that we can adapt the device to meet the needs of more patients.
Cool. All right, now let's show this thing off a little bit.
Yeah.
If you're watching on YouTube, or if you're not watching on YouTube, you can head over to YouTube to see this thing up close and personal. But yeah, kind of just show it to us and just explain it a little. You kind of did this earlier, but explain it to us again, and especially for our people who are tuning in just listening.
Yeah.
Feel free to kind of be a little,
Yeah, sure. So I'm showing you the product, what it looks like in the packaging that it comes in. So I'll just kind of talk you through it from that standpoint. So the product comes with a syringe and a needle. For those of you listening in, I'm just pulling it out of the packaging. It's the device itself, but it has a needle, and then it has this little blue cap on the other side. And essentially what happens is the patient will fill this small syringe with 200 units of insulin, or however much they need during the 4-day period. They will insert it into the device and fill it. So it's a very simple filling process, and I'm cutting it short just for the purposes of this call, but it's essentially that easy. And then this device is placed in an inserter, a reusable inserter. And when it's inside of that inserter, I'm taking off the adhesive covering here. So you can see there's an adhesive, there's a needle, and there's a cannula around that needle. And essentially the device...
And when you take off that adhesive, would you have done that when it's in the inserter?
Correct. Exactly. Yep. So you take off the adhesive covering. So now when I apply it to my body, that adhesive now forms on my skin, and we'll just take the cap here to show you. And then I remove this needle, So you can kind of see this adhesive around the patch, and then there's the catheter that comes on underneath it. So it's a really easy device to train on. So it's not uncommon for a patient to have to spend 2 or 3 hours learning how to use a pump, and oftentimes even longer than that, right? It's complex technology. We're able to train patients in about 15 to 20 minutes on how to use and apply this device. That's oftentimes done in the office by the staff. We also have nurses that can do training through a Zoom link. So it's a really easy product to learn and to use. But it's really simple. It's simple to use. It's simple to learn. It's simple to fill with insulin. A couple of interesting features. So you push these two buttons to deliver the insulin. We put a little sticker on the device that says, "Hey, if you put it on Tuesday, the sticker is going to say change it out on Friday." So it's a little reminder, just kind of a analog. Just put a sticker on there. Hey, I forgot which day I put it on. Oh, let me look down. Oh, Friday's the day I need to change this. So when Friday comes, they take it off and they put a new one on. If during the 4 days, they, for whatever reason, run out of insulin, the buttons will lock. So if the buttons lock, the patient is basically informed, you're out of insulin. You need to go put another patch on. Another reason the buttons may lock is if for any reason there is a cannula occlusion and you're not getting insulin into your body, the buttons will also lock. So it gives the patient comfort to know, hey, if I push these buttons and they reopen, I delivered insulin. There's really not a circumstance by which I'm pushing these buttons and I'm not getting my insulin. If the buttons lock, I know that that's an issue. And just by way of numbers, I mean, we've sold, I think, over 500,000 devices now. We've had no adverse events. We've had no occlusions that we're aware of. The quality of the product has been exceptional. It's 100% inspected on the manufacturing line. So every device that goes out the door gets 100% inspection. It's just a remarkably reliable device, and we have extremely low complaints. Most of the complaints that we do get tend to be around the adhesive, which is not uncommon for CGM or other pumps or infusion sets. Some people's skin just has a reaction to the adhesive itself.
And the cannula, what angle is it? It looks 90 degrees. And what is the material of it?
Yep. So the cannula is at 90 degrees. It's 6 millimeters. You're going to challenge me. My engineers are going to scream at me if I get this wrong, but I believe it's a polypropylene. It's a relatively soft plastic that you don't feel under your skin.
Okay. Well, please talk to Omnipod about us getting a 4-day Omnipod because it's magic. That 4 days sounds magic.
Yeah.
And I asked users for questions or my audience for questions, and one of the biggest questions was, what about different colors for different skin types? So this one is a beige color, but I could see the opportunity to have a line of 3 different colors. I'm sure that would make production a little more difficult, but is that something you've weighed? Is it something that's doable in the future?
Yeah. So we have thought about it and talked about it. It is doable, but we'll need to be at a different level of scale to make that investment to do it.
Okay.
And I hope someday that people will wear the device proudly, and say, I want a red one or a blue one or a green one, and it's okay, right? I think we're going to get to that point, especially as CGM becomes sort of out into the masses, and there'll be a lot less stigma around wearing devices 10 years from now. And I hope that we get to a point where people want to pick a color, whether it's their skin tone or whether they want to wear yellow this week, so they're going to wear yellow because that's what they're in the mood for.
Yeah, I'm all for that. I love to show my devices loud and proud. I put stickers on them, which could be a thing for this device too, is putting some sort of sticker Another thing, as I kind of look at my demo unit, I do see the opportunity for there to be almost like a case, a reusable clip that gets clipped onto it. It does seem like the shape would allow for that, for there to be different
Yes.
little brackets you can put on it. When it comes to connectivity, this device doesn't have that. There's no, at least to my understanding, there's no electronics on board. There's no connectivity to a phone. And a product you brought up earlier, the InPen, the one nice thing about that is that it connects to your phone. It reminds you, have you bolused, or it calculates and keeps track of all of the units you've been delivering. Is there a world where CeQur Simplicity has some sort of electronic that could connect to your phone and track insulin on board? Because I find that I've been in situations where I'm a little intoxicated and I don't remember how much insulin's on board, and it's a scary situation to be in. Or I don't know if it got delivered, even though you have that mechanic.
Yeah.
You know.
So we have wrestled with this question and debated it for several years. The research and the feedback we get from patients is they love the device just how it is. So we don't hear from a whole lot of folks that say, "Hey, I want to connect. I'd love this to be connected." Those people that want it connected, I would argue, should go on a pump, right? I think if a patient is geared to want that information and to be invested in their disease state in that way, I would argue, don't just take one step towards that, just go all the way. There's, two fabulous low profile devices on the market today, the Tandem Mobi and the Omnipod 5. You got two terrific options if you want a low profile, pump. You don't want to wear a big hefty pump. So the patients that we're working with, again, which is the majority, they kind of know how much insulin they need. They've been doing this a long time. That they don't need any complexity. They don't need alarms going off. They just need help with the convenience and the discreetness, and that's it. And so that's the major unmet need. That's what our product addresses.
What has been the response from physicians with this?
So I'll tell you what I tell a new sales rep that we're hiring, because they all want to know, well, what's it going to be like selling this product?
Yeah.
And I say, the vast majority of sales calls you make are going to be positive. The physicians are going to say, wow, yeah, I have tons of patients on MDI, and I have tons of patients that I know miss their injections, whether they tell me or not. I know they're missing their injections. I have teachers, and I have construction workers and policemen. I have all kinds of people that have active lives, and it just, life gets in the way of them. So the light bulb goes off very quickly for the vast majority of physicians that are treating people that take mealtime insulin. That's the response, right? That's the general response we get. The challenge is they've been prescribing pens for 30 years. So we've got to go help them build the processes in their practice to change how they practice medicine, to change how they think about maybe a patient that's going on to mealtime insulin for the first time. Should I put them on a pen, or should I put them on a product that's probably going to give them a better odds of success from the very first moment they start mealtime insulin? Is it easier for me to talk to a patient about mealtime insulin because I'm not telling them they have to inject 3 or 4 times a day, right? So we have to work with the doctors to help them understand, how to talk to patients about it, how to help those patients get trained, how to make that process seamless and easy for physicians. And, we call on endocrinology, but we also call on primary care. And many of the physicians in the primary care world, they may think pump technology is terrific, but they just don't have the resources in their practice to put a patient on a pump. They just don't have the time. They don't have the educators. They don't have the support network. And so one of the really nice things about our product is it's so easy to train, and we can train the patient ourselves with our own nursing staff. We can say to the doctor, listen, all you need to do is prescribe it to the pharmacy and tell the patient to give us a call, and we'll handle everything else. Nothing else that you need to do. So it's easy in concept, but getting into the office and changing those processes takes time and energy and focus.
Where is this available now, and what are your plans for expansion?
Yeah. So it's essentially available anywhere. And any patient in the United States has access to this because it's sold through the pharmacy. And if the prescription is written to the pharmacy will get the product and deliver it to the patient. We also do a lot of mail order. So a lot of the product is often just drop shipped to the patient. We use a lot of various specialty pharmacies. So if there's a patient that wants to get on the product, they can call us. They can call our 1-800 number, and we can work with their local physician to ensure that they can get on the product. As I mentioned earlier, we have 42 sales reps today. They're predominantly in New England, the Midwest, a lot in Texas, in the Southeast. We'd have some gaps as you get further out west. We do have some folks out in California. But again, we've got an inside sales team. We've got an inside customer service team. So essentially, any of your listeners that have interest in the product, we can help them. We can help them get it.
Well, what about my listeners that are not in the United States, which is a nice majority, a nice amount of people.
So
who gave an audible sigh as you said that.
So I wish we were global. I wish we were outside of the U.S., but just due to the nature of being a small company, we are focused on the U.S. market for the moment.
You've got your 4-day wear. That's a huge improvement over 3. What's next? What are your future goals? What do you want to see with this device?
So in the near term, it's really just getting the word out. Really over the next several years, we just want to reach as many patients as we can. Longer term, the portfolio will evolve to, expand that market. But today, it's just a huge market. And as someone with diabetes, I've come to really appreciate what a difficult, disease to manage. Like it doesn't go away. You don't just wake up 2 weeks from now and you feel better and it's gone, right? It's like, this is with you for the rest of your life. And so I have a great appreciation for that for patients. And, we have roughly 5,000 people today that are using our product every single day. We get amazing feedback. You've changed my life. My A1C dropped from 12 to 7. My A1C dropped from 10 to 6. This is the first product I've ever been able to use. It's helped me, really gain control of my diabetes. And so when you hear these stories from patients, you just think, my gosh, how can we go faster? How can we help people faster? So that's what we're up to the next few years.
Great. Well, Brad, thank you so much for coming on the show. I'm very excited to see how CeQur grows and to see the response from everyone using it.
Terrific. Justin, it's been a pleasure. And thank you for your listeners for listening in. And if we can help you, we want to help you. Give us a call. We're at www.cequr.com. Easy to find. And we'll take your call and do whatever we can to help you out.
Yeah, and it's CeQur.
Yes, exactly.
Would you consider using the CeQur Simplicity? Let us know in the comments on YouTube and why it would fit well into your lifestyle. And if you're already using it, let us know your experience. Thanks for listening. New episodes of the show released every Monday on podcast platforms and on YouTube, so follow where you prefer. I'm Justin, and I'll see you next week.